Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Today we're digging into some really interesting source material. A listener sent over excerpts from Mel Robbins' book, The Let Them Theory.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. Our goal here is really to unpack the core idea, get to the heart of its main rule, reflect on the wisdom it's offering, and see how you might actually use it in everyday life.
Right, because it starts with this promise, basically rooted in two simple words, that suggests a way to find freedom from, well, all that stuff you just can't control.
Exactly, a perspective shift.
So let's start with the problem it's trying to solve. The source jumps right into something we all feel, right? Life just throws things at you.
Oh, constantly. Traffic jams, maybe someone's rude to you, a difficult boss, family members criticizing. Yeah, it never stops.
It really doesn't. And the core issue the book highlights is how much energy, like so much energy we waste trying to control things we actually have zero control over.
hmm Other people's actions, what they say, what they think about us, how they feel, their expectations. We get so caught up in trying to manage all of that.
But why? Why do we do that? The book suggests it often comes down to fear, doesn't it?
Yeah, fear of, not fitting in, not being liked, maybe fear of judgment, or just this anxiety when things aren't going exactly how we planned. Fear of chaos, almost.
And the result, it's
Yeah.
just draining. The source paints this picture like you can bend over backward, try to please everyone, shrink yourself down.
And it's still not enough. Someone's still unhappy, someone finds fault. You end up feeling like you failed.
Totally. It's exhausting, it doesn't bring peace, and worse, you feel powerless, like you're trapped by how other people might react. You've basically handed over your control.
Yeah, you've given your power away. It's a tough cycle.
Ugh, that definitely hits home. So, if that's the problem, this constant, exhausting attempt to control the uncontrollable, what's the solution the book puts forward? It seems almost too simple.
It really does. It introduces this idea, the let them theory. And it literally boils down to just two words. Let them.
Okay, it sounds, I don't know, a bit passive, but the source makes it clear it's not about giving up, right? What does let them actually mean here?
It's about liberation, really. It's about actively choosing to free yourself from that impossible job of micromanaging everyone else. Their thoughts, their words, their actions, their feelings.
So it's allowing others to just be, to
Are-
live their lives without you feeling responsible for fixing or changing it.
Exactly. Let them make their own choices, have their own reactions. It's not your burden to carry.
The source gives some great little examples, like your coworker's in a terrible mood.
Instead of feeling you have to fix it or letting it drag you down, you just think, let them be grumpy. It's actually not your problem to solve.
Or if, say, your dad criticizes your life choices.
Let him have his opinions. They don't define you. His thoughts are his own.
The immediate benefit seems huge. You stop pouring energy down the drain.
Instantly. You reclaim that time, that mental space. You get some peace back. Your happiness starts depending on your actions, your responses, not on whether someone else behaves the way you want them to.
There's that story in the source about prom night that really brought it home for me.
Oh, the taco story. Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. Her son, Oakley, and his friends, like 20 teens in tuxes and dresses, decide last minute they want tacos from this little place downtown before prom, and it's pouring rain.
And you can just picture the parents, right? Total panic mode. Reservations, ruined clothes, logistics, trying to control the situation.
Exactly. But then the daughter says something like, Mom, if they want tacos, let them. If they want to show up wet, let them. It's their prom, not yours. Just let them.
And bam, that phrase just cuts through the panic.
Yeah, it's like a release valve. The author realizes, oh, right, this isn't my night, not my choice. She stops trying to force this perfect outcome.
Gives them money for tacos and later sees them, muddy dashing through the rain, but clearly having their own authentic, maybe messy, but real prom experience.
Yeah. It makes it so clear. Let them isn't about being weak or just letting things go in a suppressed way. It's an active choice to release the control you never really had.
Right. It's not resignation. It's redirecting your energy in an empowering way. It's different from just vaguely letting it go, which can feel unfinished. This is about freeing yourself from the task of managing them.
Okay, so let them is step one. Free yourself from trying to control the externals, especially other people. But the book stresses that stopping there isn't the whole picture.
No, definitely not. If you only focus on let them, the source warns you might end up feeling kind of lonely, detached, maybe even a little bit smug, but still stuck.
Which leads to the second, absolutely crucial part.
This is where your actual power comes back into play.
Okay, tell me about Let Me. How does that complete the picture?
Let me is about taking all that energy you just saved by not trying to control others and immediately turning it inwards. It's about taking full responsibility for what you do control, your own next move.
Your attitude, your behavior, your choices.
Exactly. Where you focus your attention, your effort, it shifts the locus of control right back to you.
The source has that example about seeing friends' vacation photos on social media, right? And feeling left out.
Yeah. The initial reaction is, hurt, maybe some judgment. Let them.
Yeah.
Helps you detach from that initial sting. Okay, let them go on their trip. That's their choice, their life.
But that alone doesn't fix the feeling, maybe.
Right. The real shift happens with the let me. That prompts the self-reflection. Okay, wait. Let me think. Have I actually been putting in effort lately? Have I reached out?
Ah, so it becomes about taking responsibility for her own part in her social life.
Precisely. The let me turns into action. Let me be the one to text first sometimes. Let me prioritize making plans. She realized they weren't necessarily excluding her. They were just living their lives. And maybe she hadn't been as present or proactive in those connections recently.
So it wasn't about making them change. It was about her taking action based on what she wanted.
Exactly. And the book makes a really important point. If you find yourself using let them and consistently feeling lonely or resentful, it's a big red flag that you're probably skipping the let me step.
You need both parts working together. Let them clears the space.
And let me fills that space with your own conscious, empowered choices and actions.
It sounds so simple, but the shift feels profound. And it's interesting how the source connects this idea to older wisdom traditions. It's not just like a random new idea.
Absolutely not. Let them aligns perfectly with Stoicism.
Right.
Focused only on what's in your control, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, and accept everything else, especially other people's choices.
And let me is the Stoic part about acting virtuously, using your reason.
Exactly. And you see echoes in Buddhism, too, with radical acceptance.
Right.
Suffering often comes from resisting reality. Let them reduces that resistance to what is. And let me is about choosing your skillful response. It makes these big philosophical ideas feel really practical, like tools you can use day to day.
I like that, turning philosophy into practical tools. Okay, so let's talk about applying this let them plus let me framework to specific messy life situations. The source goes into a few key areas. How about starting with stress, something we all know?
Yeah, stress. It's everywhere. But the source argues that a huge chunk of our stress comes from letting external things, other people's actions, situations we can't control, dictate our internal state. That's giving away your power.
They mentioned the brain science bit, the amygdala hijack versus the prefrontal cortex, how chronic stress keeps you stuck in that reactive mode. And that statistic is scary, 7 out of 10 people living in constant stress.
It's alarming. But the theory offers a tangible way to interrupt that. When a stressor hits, something external you can't control, consciously saying let them or let it be signals to your brain, okay, emergency brakes not needed here. It helps start that reset process.
And then you immediately follow with the let me.
Right. Let me take a deep breath. Let me focus on what I can do. Let me choose not to engage right now. It brings you back to your own agency.
Thinking about work stress, a frustrating boss, maybe feeling overlooked. You can't make your boss change or guarantee a promotion.
Nope. But you can use let them be how they are. Let them make their decisions. And then focus your energy with let me. Let me control my response. Let me focus on doing excellent work. Let me explore other options if this environment isn't right. Especially with burnout being so high, this feels critical.
Definitely. Okay, next big one. Fearing what other people think. This holds so many people back.
Hugely. It fuels procrastination, self-doubt, stops us taking risks.
Yeah.
The source uses that great Mary Oliver quote, "What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" and points out, whatever you do, someone will have an opinion. You can't please everyone.
And the fundamental truth is you literally cannot control their thoughts. It's impossible. Worrying about it is just a complete waste of time and energy.
Totally. So the solution offered is pretty radical. Let them think bad thoughts about you. Just give them permission. Assume they might judge or disapprove. Stop trying to manage their internal world.
Wow. Okay, and the let me part.
That's where you redirect all that saved energy. Let me focus on my passions. Let me build habits that make me feel good. Let me live in a way that makes me proud. It's about aligning your actions with your own values, not trying to perform for others' potential approval.
Like deciding to go to an event or not go based on what feels right for you, not out of obligation or fear of what someone else will think if you don't show up.
Exactly. It's your choice,
Yeah.
based on your let me.
Okay, how about handling difficult emotional reactions from others? When people act out, sulk, get passive aggressive.
The source mentions Dr. Ann Davin's point about adults sometimes acting like 8-year-olds in grown-up bodies emotionally. We've all seen it.
And those reactions can totally manipulate your behavior,
That's
right?
real
You
talking.
end up walking on eggshells saying yes when you want to say no.
Absolutely. So the solution is clear. Let them react. Their emotional immaturity is not your responsibility to manage. You don't have to fix their feelings.
And the let me is.
Let me choose what's right for me, even if they get upset. Let me set a clear boundary. Let me respond calmly, not reactively. The source suggests this can even build compassion, recognizing they might just lack better coping skills.
But what if I'm the one having the 8-year-old reaction? Because let's be real, that happens too.
Oh, for sure. And the theory applies just as much to yourself. The first part is allowing the feeling, let the difficult emotions surface without judgment.
Okay.
But the crucial step is the let me pause before I react. Create that space between feeling and action. Remember, the source says emotions often pass in about 90 seconds if you don't fuel them. Let me choose a constructive response instead of letting the feeling hijack you.
That's powerful. Okay, one more area before relationships. Chronic comparison. Social media makes this so much worse.
Doesn't it? Seeing everyone's curated successes can feel like proof of your own inadequacy. It leads to feeling stuck, hopeless, self-critical, which just kills motivation.
So the let them part here is accepting reality.
Basically, yeah, let others have their success. Life isn't always fair. People have different paths, different timing, different luck. Accept it.
And the let me turns it around.
Yes. Instead of letting it deflate you, let me use their success as inspiration. See it as proof of what's possible. Let me focus on my work, my journey. The source tells that story about envying a friend's house, those queen bunk beds.
Right, and realizing the envy wasn't really about the house.
It was about her abandoning her own ambitions. The let me became taking responsibility. Let me finally do the work I've been avoiding. It took years, but she did it. It's about consistent effort on your path.
Okay, so moving into relationships, the source suggests this is where let them plus let me can have maybe the biggest impact.
It really seems to be a key area, like trying to motivate someone else to change a partner, kid, friend.
We usually default to pressure, nagging,
Yeah.
which the book says backfires.
Big time. Pressure creates resistance. People need autonomy. Brains even shut down to negative advice. The real power is influence, not control.
So let them be where they are and let me focus on modeling the behavior.
Exactly. Let me be the example. Let me communicate my needs clearly and kindly. The source mentions a structured way for conversations, the ABC loop, designed to help them see the gap for themselves, sparking internal motivation. But it takes patience.
Months, potentially. It's a long game.
Definitely. You focus on your side, let me show up this way, and allow them space. Let them find their own motivation.
That leads to a really tough one. What about helping someone you love who's seriously struggling? Addiction, depression, making really harmful choices.
Yeah, this is incredibly painful territory. The source is clear. Immediate danger requires intervention, always. But often it's ongoing or they're resistant to help.
And the heartbreaking truth the book highlights is you can't want their recovery more than they do.
You just can't. And trying to rescue or enable them fixing their problems, shielding them from consequences while it feels loving, often just prolongs the struggle. Facing natural consequences is often essential for real change.
So the let them here is gut-wrenching. Let them learn the hard way within safe boundaries. Let them face the consequences, accepting they might not be ready yet.
It's so hard. And the let me is just as crucial. It's about offering support, listening, validating, being present without taking over. Let me offer comfort. Let me listen without judgment. Let me stand with them as they face their fears or do the hard work, showing you believe in them. Like that example of walking the daughter back to her own bed to face anxiety, not rescuing her from it.
Yeah, supporting through the struggle, not removing it. Okay, finally, applying this to choosing and sustaining love, like in romantic relationships.
The source is pretty direct here. Adults choose who they love and how they show it. Their actions speak volumes. So let them show you who they are. Pay attention.
And it warns against chasing people or settling. Mixed signals aren't really mixed.
Right. They usually mean you're not a priority or I'm not willing to commit.
So the let me in dating is about self-awareness and self-respect.
Totally. Let me be honest with myself about what's happening here. Let me have the self-respect to walk away if my needs aren't being met. Understanding that a good relationship has to be mutual.
And once you're in a committed relationship,
The core idea is acceptance. Let them be them. You chose this person. You can't expect them to fundamentally change. The let me shifts to let me accept them as they are. Let me focus on my own behavior and acceptance. Let me communicate my needs kindly. Like accepting your partner's quirks, focusing on the deeper stuff.
Right.
But there's a caveat.
Which is?
If you find you genuinely cannot accept them as they are day in and day out, then the let me might involve making a much harder choice about whether the relationship itself is right for you.
Wow. Okay, so across all these areas, stress, opinions, emotions, comparison, relationships, it all seems to circle back to one fundamental relationship.
Absolutely. The one you have with yourself. The source really emphasizes this. You are your own greatest love, the constant companion in your life.
And practicing let them with others is what creates the space to finally practice let me with yourself. Let them be them so you can finally let you be you.
Exactly. And it's not shallow self-care. It's a deep foundational choice to prioritize your own well-being, your dreams, your needs, your happiness.
It's saying, let me prioritize what makes me happy. Let me go after my goals. Let me set boundaries that protect my peace. Let me love myself enough to leave situations that harm me.
The core wisdom seems to be everything you're looking for outside acceptance, love, validation really has to start inside. When you honor yourself with these let me choices, you set the standard. You stop needing external permission to live fully.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up. What are the absolute key takeaways from this deep dive into the let them theory?
Well, first, I think it's just that deep understanding. You are responsible for your own happiness. Nobody else can give it to you or take it away, ultimately.
Right. And second, your real power isn't in controlling others, it's within you. It's in how you manage your own energy, your focus, your choices, your responses.
Mm-hmm. Third, let them is the practical tool to stop wasting that precious energy trying to control the uncontrollable. It's the release valve.
And fourth, let me is the essential other half. It's where you take that released energy and actively direct it towards building the life you want, aligned with your values. It's the empowerment step.
And this isn't just theoretical. It applies directly to handling stress, dealing with opinions, managing emotions, overcoming comparison, and transforming all your relationships, especially the one with yourself.
Remembering that warning, let them, without let me, leads to isolation. Trying to control everything externally means you never step into your own power, your let me life.
The cost of not doing this is huge, right? Wasted time, frustration, missed chances, feeling stuck.
But the upside, the freedom, the potential, the peace that comes from reclaiming your power and really stepping into that let me era, as the source calls it, that feels limitless.
Truly empowering.
So, to leave you, our listener, with something to really chew on after this deep dive.
How about this? What is one specific thing, just one, in your life right now where you're spending energy trying to control someone else or some situation?
Something you could consciously choose today to apply let them to. Just release that grip.
And if you do that, what is the immediate let me action you can take? How will you redirect that reclaimed energy back towards yourself, towards your goals, your peace, your authentic life?
Really powerful questions to consider.
Definitely food for thought. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's always fascinating to unpack these ideas from the source material.
Yeah, we really hope something in here clicked for you, sparked an idea, maybe offered a little bit of relief.
You can find the deep dive wherever you like to listen. We hope you'll join us again.